Hello, everybody. We are live today with the lovely Miss Julie here. I've been blessed to get to meet you through CWLI, which is the Chattanooga Women's Leadership Institute. But I have got to also see you from afar, too, on the things that you do with First Things First. So before we get started, I want you to just talk about yourself and just tell us about some of the things that you do.
Well, I run First Things First with a fabulous team of people, and we're all about helping people to have healthy relationships. And when I'm not doing that, my husband and I enjoy just doing fun things together. I like to horseback ride, and I love to garden, and just enjoy being with people. So we get together with friends and just enjoy life. Our daughter is 27 and she's living in Arkansas, so and we're making the most of that.
Yes, that's awesome. So today I wanted to bring you on, and we're going to talk about in this space of I don't want to say it's the unknown. I don't like saying that because there are some things that we do know, and that's our attitude, and we know how we can carry ourselves in some things. But in this space of change, how can people foster true connection in relationships?
Whew, okay, how long do we have?
I know, right? 20 minutes.
I think that there's a number of things we can do. One, I would say focus on taking care of yourself, because if you're an empty vessel, if you're feeling like you're at your wit's end all the time, it's very difficult to care for those around you. So taking care of you, and sometimes because we go so fast, I mean, we have all kind of been thrown into this forced time out, like no work, no work, no this, no that, and we're not used to that. So actually sitting down and looking at what this is different and how is this different, and then figuring out what are your priorities here. For me, certainly my relationship with my spouse, but also my mom is by herself now 24/7. And so instead of just picking up the phone and calling her, I need to FaceTime with her, or we need to, I mean, lately it's been my sister, my daughter, and I actually calling all at the same time and having a group chat where we're all seeing faces and laughing. You definitely need laughter at this moment in time. So finding joy even in the moment, and recognizing that things are different for your children too, and this feels very weird to them. So acknowledging it's different, and how are we going to connect? Maybe even having family meetings in the morning or at night. How's everybody doing? Taking a temperature reading, talking about this is how we're going to roll today, and really taking it one day at a time, because you're right, it is unknown, it's uncharted waters, and because it is so different than what we're used to, I think taking it one day at a time is probably more helpful than trying to look into the future and figure out all the what ifs, because we don't know.
And that's the thing. It's in the space of the unknown, we make our own stories. And so how can we make stories that are positive? And for me, I think it's one, that's the reason why I like to do these, to give back life. And so, and another thing for me is I've had to kind of limit some of my social media because it's been a little bit negative on some parts, or news and stuff. So in this space, what are some things that people can do to find the good and find ways that they can, I'm all about speaking life into the world, because I feel like if we speak it, it will come and we can receive it. So what are some things that people can do on that end?
I think you can do this as an individual, but you could also do this as a family. Things that we're thankful for, or ways to be blessed, and actually make a list of those things. If you are in a house and you have some food on your table and you are together, you're not by yourselves. If the sun is shining, we were talking about being able to look up and see the stars this morning really early when I was out walking. And we know that there's some days of sunshine ahead. So we're actually going to be able to get outside. If you have space, this is one that we probably don't think about, but if you actually have space in your home where you can come and be together, but you also have room to be apart and have
Mhm.
a little bit of quiet time to yourself, that's something to be thankful for, or ways that you can create that. There are many blessings in this. Even the blessing of how many times have we said we never have enough time to do that as a family, or
Mhm.
we don't think about quantity, we think about quality because we're just so busy. Well, now you're not so busy. Uh,
Mhm.
Thinking about how do we take advantage of this family time and do some crazy stuff together that we would never have time to do before. Read a book together. There's all these ways that we actually are very blessed if we just sit down and think about that. And the other thing that I think we can do is recognize, I wrote about this on Sunday, recognizing the things that you actually have control over,
Mhm.
things that you have influence over, and things that you have 100% no control over. And when you look at
Mhm.
those lists, really the list of what you have control over is pretty small, maybe smaller than you thought it would be. The things you have influence over, maybe a little bit bigger, but the things that you have no control over, it's probably pretty huge. And recognizing if I can let that go, it's going to free up some space in my bandwidth, if you will, and
Mhm.
energy. It'll give me energy to focus on things that I can influence. Your attitude is absolutely something that you can influence. Being grateful, absolutely something that you can influence. So we have control over certain things and we can influence those things, and then stop wasting our time on the things that we have no control over. And that is helpful.
I love that, and that's also something that I think before this people needed to do, and now it's like this is the perfect space to do that.
Right.
I call it the Achilles heel. Trying to figure out what your Achilles heel in is, and what are some things that you try to control but you do not have any control over.
Yeah.
And so that is so beautiful, just for people to take the time now to do it, because one, you have the space, and then two, you have a open reflection, I feel like right now more
Mhm.
than ever. So I talk a lot about physiology and fear shuts off the learning centers of the brain.
Gosh, yes.
And
Yeah.
so right now you can be in fear or you can be in what I say, creativity. So
Mhm.
this is the time that you can be the most creative ever. And so you have that space if you open your mind to
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and also touching back what you said earlier about family time. I'm all I'm big about not doing like little gifts, but doing about memories, making memories instead of making it for
That.
wasting money.
Right.
So right now, this is a time that you can make memories with your kids
Yes.
more than ever. And I'll say yesterday, I've been struggling with it, trying to be a mom, trying to be a elementary school teacher, which I fail. And I have the most admiration for school teachers around the world. I miss y'all. And then also running a business.
Right.
So in this space, my daughter Brinley came and she's like, "Hey, Mama, are you going to play with me? Are you going to play with?" I was like, "Oh, I got one more meeting, just one more." And so I paused, and we had a dance party. It's like,
You.
and it's finding ways. Do we actually in this space too? And this might be something too that you can talk about. Is about being busy. We naturally want to be busy in work. Just in work, I find like that's like the cool word to say I'm busy. Instead of actually taking time to pause and actually be reflective and being mindful of what we're doing. If we're just doing it to do things,
Mhm.
so some things that I think is like, do we need to take all the phone calls that we have, or all the Zoom, or all the Skypes that we're taking right now? Because I don't know about you, Julie. I don't know if you're on tons of them right now or not, but it just feels like also we got to make sure that we have our boundaries in this space. So,
Mhm.
what are some clear boundaries that people can have whenever they don't know how to not feel unbusy?
Yeah. Whew, okay. Where do we start? One, not business as usual. It's really not business as usual. And I think I'm just thinking about this as I'm listening to you talk, that I think one of the things that actually we might feel as a result of it not being business as usual is that we actually realize how utterly exhausted we are. And so making sure that you get rest. I was talking with some folks the other day about the importance of, even now, creating some routine, ritual, consistency, and structure in your home. And to your point about fear really is paralyzing, so is telling yourself you're a failure. And I think that a lot
Mm-hmm.
of who are feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to be the teacher, be the mom, be the employee, be the spouse, be the friend, be the adult child. I can't do all that. And it feels very overwhelming. And I think we all need to breathe just a
Mm-hmm.
minute, and we need to give ourselves permission that this is not normal. And we're doing a lot of adapting and adjusting in the moment and giving ourselves permission to do that, even giving ourselves permission to just say, okay, I need to talk through for myself what
Mm-hmm.
matters in this moment. Does a perfectly clean house matter in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-mm.
Only time really matters. And
Mm-hmm.
not that you're the entertainment person, but even letting your children come up with, okay, we're going to have a dance party. What are we going to dance to? What kind of dancing are we going to do? Or, yeah, we're going to go old school with a fort. We're playing I Spy or Simon Says or Mother May I or all of those old school games that we don't play anymore because we're on screens or we're doing sports. But creating a fun adventure in your home, a scavenger hunt in your
I love
home,
that.
going on a bear hunt, or all those things that could create the memories that you're talking about, so that when they look back and they're like, well, let me tell you about the time when I was little and this happened. We all had to stay inside and
Mm-hmm.
ate together as a family, and I learned how to cook this. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
lots of opportunity here, even to learn something together as a family. There's cool stuff that can happen here if we will just give ourselves some grace and not feel like
Amen.
you got to be on all the phone calls and do all the things. It's not business as usual for sure.
Amen to that one. And that's also, if anybody has any comments, let us know what you guys are doing in your areas to stay connected with your family. Or if you have a family that's away, how are you connecting with them as well? Because I think the thing that you said, again, it's all about making those memories right now. It's really in creating those relationships. One thing that somebody tagged me in on Facebook, it was to have your child journal during this period of time.
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
And to see, because the thing is that this is actually history.
Right. Right.
And so to see if you can make it through this, in
Yeah.
essence, the mindset for it. So with that, I will pop this up. Thank you, Ashley. Ashley from CWLI said, amazing win, and we appreciate you for that. So also, okay, while we have you on, let's talk about first things first. And I do want to put up your banner and some of the things that you are doing to help the community. I know that you are in Chattanooga area, but what are some of the things that you are doing to help people during this time?
We actually put a page on our website where people can go and look at resources for self-care, resources for marital care. I mean, you could have the greatest marriage and this would be very trying. And so talking about the importance of communication and the importance of laughter, the importance of giving each other space and showing each other grace, because some of the conversations that we've had around this are how spouses are responding differently. One person is just like, hey, this is just a blip in time and it's different soon. And the other person is really, really concerned about different aspects of this whole thing. So a whole page for marital care, and then another page for parents. We have tried to curate, every resource that we've come across of virtual tours and scheduling, ways to talk to your children about the coronavirus. I think it would be important for us to point out that if your child is acting out more than usual, know that that's probably a sign that they're anxious and fearful. We have words for that a lot of times, especially younger children, but not limited to younger children. they express their fear with their behavior. It's kind of a barometer for what's happening in them. And so being able to have conversations with them, age appropriate for sure, but being able to have conversations with them about, here's what I know, here's what I don't know, here's how we're working to keep each other safe, here are specific things that we can do, and ways that parents can be action oriented, because I don't think we're very good at just sitting still. So we've curated all of these resources, and we've made a lot of the online classes that we have free for people to go and look at. We've also got a lot of ebooks that people can have access to at this moment in time. And we are actually creating content where you are telling us what you're looking for. And journaling was one of those things. So we're actually working on some content for helping your child to journal, helping you to journal, and then even keeping your children safe during this time, boundaries if you have to go into work. How do you keep your children safe? So lots of hopefully helpful opportunities for people to take the resources and use them.
Awesome. And I'm so appreciative for all that you give back to the community and your willingness to care for people and to give them grace and give them things that they need. As we talked earlier, I think this is a time more than ever that we, like the stuff that we do is, I think it's seen, like the emotional intelligence, the relationships, the building, the wellness, the full holistic well-being of everything comes in.
Yeah.
And
I was just going to say, I feel like we're on the front lines when it comes to first responders and relationships, because being in such close quarters for such extended periods of time, we haven't had to do that. And so it's an honor. And as a team, we're about what a gift it is that this is like our lane, and we're just no. I mean, we can't create fast enough to push it out there for people to be able to say, here, take this and use it.
Amen. And I agree. And that's the thing is, somebody asked me about my team and how they're holding up now. And that was the thing is that I told them, I said, this is their purpose. This is their passion. I'm like, they're like, yeah, they're all for it and they want it right now, because it's like they knew that God made them to be on earth for this situation. It's not that they wanted this situation, but it's the thing that they knew that it was a place where people could see the importance and value each other.
Yes.
And talking about that from a work perspective too, I think this is a time more than ever that works, as we talked about, business isn't going as usual right now. But from a work perspective, I think it's a time for employers to really show up on how they care for their people.
Yes, that. I think for any boss who is thinking business as usual, same amount of billable hours, we need to recalibrate, because people are under tremendous stress. They're feeling a lot of anxiety. You talked about the unknown. And so ways that companies can come alongside people would be to show some grace and to be willing to adapt and adjust. I mean, people, I think, are trying to figure out, can I work early in the morning before the kids get up? Or as they're doing their schoolwork, are my kids old enough that they can get situated with that? And now I can go and do some of what I need to do. But this is really very different, and we need to acknowledge it as different and help people problem solve around that versus telling them you will.
I agree. And that's the thing, is that language part is that I talk about self-determination theory, which is Deci and Ryan made that up, and it's competency, autonomy, and relatedness. Autonomy right now is huge. People having the freedom to feel like they can do things right now, because the world doesn't feel relatable. We might feel relatable in the aspect that we're all cornered to, we all feel like we got in trouble and got cornered to our room.
No, seriously.
But they don't have that right now. So for people to, and I just really, really want to harp on that, autonomy is needed. What are your thoughts on the autonomy and allowing people to have, and I love that you say grace, because that's what I say a lot, because I think it's giving that grace and giving that autonomy during this period of time.
Well, I know for our team, we just had the conversation. We have a lot of work that we need to get done. We have 3 times a week a check-in. We actually kind of took a poll for everybody and asked, when's the best time to try and have that meeting? Because we know that they're juggling a lot. So we chose early in the morning. We do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, first thing. And we kind of make sure that we've got our plan together. We're all working off of a shared document. So we're seeing who's doing what, who's assigned to what. And then you figure out how to manage the projects. I mean, it's not helpful for me to even seek to micromanage. Why would we do that? So trying to let them figure out how they're going to get that done. And we know what the deadline is. So we're still tracking, but I mean, throughout the day, people have got to get outside. They've got to get exercise when the sun is shining. I mean, trying to get outside between the rain, just to get some exercise, because your brain needs that in order to function at maximum capacity. So to be creative and all of that, I think giving people a chance to come up with their own schedule. And I know that there are some companies that are answering customer service calls and those kinds of things that it's a little bit different. Still, I think we can all figure out a way to be creative and be helpful to people. And I think in doing that, people will never forget, and they'll be loyal because tried to work with them. And I think that that's the most important thing, is that we're in this together, and we've got to figure out a way forward together.
I agree fully. And I just want to give a shout out. There's a book called Everybody Matters by Bob Chapman, one of my favorite at all times. And what it talks about is when companies are at their lowest, how he actually focused on people instead of the profits, but in the long term. As my father always tells me, he runs a successful business, and as he's always said, my bank account will show how much I care for my people.
Yes, that very thing. That is so true. People will never forget how you treated them in the worst of times.
Yep, I agree. Well, I appreciate you coming on so much. Please, y'all, check out Julie at firstThingsFirst.org. I'll put that back up here real quick. Please go in and check that out. If you need any resources, it's a great way to reach out and to get relationship driven, because we need it right now. And then also, if you need work speed for us, we are doing a give back too. Y'all probably seen some of our posts on that. But if anybody needs one-on-one coaching or needs team training, we're doing that for free. We waived all of our fees until the end of April, because it's a give back. Because who needs this more than ever right now? And so
thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a blessing talking with you, Julie. You have an awesome day, and thank you for all that watched.
All right. You do the same. Bye.